Hey everyone, Mherex here, bringing you another video. A lot of people have been asking if I would feud on the free-to-play, so here it is. Yeah, we're on the free-to-play. Not the best thing to start here with a Hype 3 person, but, you know, somebody queued up with me 3 times my talent, so it will happen. For the ladies feud here, and we'll have time, I'm sure, to go over the builds and stuff, while we're waiting and in between and stuff like that. For the ladies feud, I've mostly been using just two ladies, Becky and Zombie Bailey, right? Yeah, I'll go over the builds, the stuff I have on them, plates, etc. All right, and so Becky gets the W there. So the Piper is Hype 3, which she's going to be the hardest one to deal with, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so green. All right. And we're going to hit definitely not as hard on her. Green. Let's just be extra safe here. All right. That's a good start. This is going to take us 2 cycles, so the fact that she didn't get a green or a red match is important. It'll take at least 2 cycles. It might take more, because we're going to have a reduction in our damage based on the fact that Piper is higher hype. Although, if she's wearing move damage stuff, she may not be able to kick out regardless. Yeah, you can see reduce my damage in half, and she is wearing move damage stuff, so she's not going to kick out of this. Perfect. All right. So the big problem is solved, right? And now the choice is, do I use Zombie Bailey on one of the other two to get my unique win, right? So which one? Rhea with gear and a sub, which Zombie Bailey can reduce, but does have nice stuff. Or Hype 2, probably we'll use Becky here. And we'll go for Rhea. Zombie Bailey. Unfortunately, those don't have the reversal. So we can do purple reduction. MP reduce right here. And that should do us. All right, we're going to go first, and it's probably going to take 2 cycles. So we will just make sure. There's a big reduction. You see it reduced me all the way to 13 million. That was not good. That's the difference in metals, right? I don't have tier 5 metals. Or, I'm sorry, tier 3 takedown 2s for Bailey. So, and she has big ones. Medals, that is. All right. So, will she stay down? Nope, definitely not. Luckily, the MP reduction. Of course, the AI gets a wild card. Why wouldn't they? Snatching possible defeat from the jaws of victory. That's ridiculous. Oh, goodness. We are definitely going to lose here because of that stupid 5 match. Awesome. Well, not much you can do. And that is why I hate any and all RNG in this game. So now we're basically just stuck with using Becky on all of them, which is fine. Just don't get as many points, right? But I'm can't get enough points on this account to matter anyway. I have nothing, like no promoters or any of that stuff, so you know, I basically, and I have no extra CSS, so I don't think I'll even get to the 100 million mark. I'll fall a little bit short of that. If I had one more CSS, I think I would get the 100 million mark, but see, Becky, it's no problem, really, for the most part, with what I run into running a 68k lineup. This is the first 3 I've seen in both feuds, and I ran the exact same lineup both times. Bailey's in there to get the zombie wins, which is the only CSS I have, and then it's just Becky. If I inflate my roster, then I run into much harder stuff. Staying under 70k generally works pretty well. It works much better if I don't queue with somebody 3 times my size. And I can wait to queue, but then, you know, it's a lot of waiting. So I just queue up and hope for the best. Ideally, I'd be feuding with someone my exact same level, and then this would be much easier. Should have just used Bailey against Chelsea with red MP down. I honestly thought we'd be fine on the Rhea, though. We clearly were not. Let's see where our teammate is at here. And we can go over what I'm running on them. He's got 1 left, so we have a little bit of time. So Becky, right here, Hype 2, Strap, I put Fury 3s on. I have the crossfire yellow plate on her for the other build, which is what I was running. But I pulled her gear, right? And so I saw no reason to remove that. Pulling her gear was huge because it gives the much needed multiply gem increase strength because I don't have really good multiply trainers, right? So we're just running the triple purple. and Woods and Gunther and Brett, and then Memrock when I don't need this, right? Because he's the only one I can get extra multiply on there, so we're just doing that. And that's how we're running her, and it works quite effectively. Really well, actually. And then Bailey, let's see, I don't think I still have a black takedown too. Nope, just regular takedown 1. Yep, and Fury 2. I do have an armor 2, so I could switch it to armor 2 from Fury 2, but I don't really see a reason to do that. Yeah, so this I probably should move to a takedown anyway, though. To be honest, and just get the more gem defense and stuff, but yeah. I didn't get quite to her build, but I'm sure we'll have time while we're waiting for a queue here. Whatever, that's fine. So you can see I'm joining at 65k, 2 fodder and 2 hitters, right? I don't really need the line bonus at all. It's not really doing anything for me. So I could just run 3, but I figured I might as well fill it since I have the fodders available. To get the small boost. Not that it's much of anything. So yeah. Oh, here we go. This is good. Someone very similar in level. This is ideal, right? Like you want to queue much closer to your level like this. We should get somebody, an opponent that is much more agreeable this time. It may take a little while for it to show up. So let me show you the Bailey build while we're waiting. Where are you? There you are. She's type 1. Not an ideal strap, 60% move damage. And I'm missing the takedown 3s, right? Still, probably will for a while. And then moveset is the bite, 1 knee in the grave, and the decapitated belly to belly. Should really level that move up soon. And then entourage, here we go, right? So we start loaded. And this I'm going to replace with a universal one down because my black move damage trainer is only 5%. Let's just keep a uni MP down there. So yeah, I don't have great stuff for Bailey, but she still does really well for me. And she's not, her moves aren't all the way leveled and stuff, so. Alright. This is mostly what I see sort of thing, although another 3. Which, like I said, this is the second 3 I've seen. Now let's see what she's running. She's running the green sub, so that's not really a problem. And running all sub trainers, and she doesn't have crazy metals, so this one should be relatively straightforward to win with Bex. And just in case we get in a sub, I do have purple Shango up or the green down. It's really the MP trainers. The MP reduction is your way of dealing with higher hype. If it's only one level separated. If it's multiple levels separated, it gets a lot harder, for sure. Because you get so much of a dent in all of your damage. Then you want kind of somebody with stun lock, sort of thing, or some way to keep them from recharging their moves, you know? You can see we got our damage cut in half. So not ideal. She's going to kick right out. Of course she has the green match. Because why not? That's just the way it goes. AI probably won't play this great, meaning they're going to swap the 7x2 area into black gems, so we're not even worried about it. Almost for sure they'll do that over the sub if she survives this hit, which this we're going to lower her under half threshold. So I think there's a better chance she won't kick out here. Nope, she might. Yep. And she does use the sub. She plays it right. That's fine. Oh, I kind of want to save that purple over there. This is a long, long sub. It's going to be... let's do this. Let's do that. I cannot see the board very well when there's all the glowing. All right. Not too worried about the damage from this. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's see how painful this is. Big cascade. Very big cascade. 20 mil. All right, let's go here. Yeah, right out. All right. So that was the big problem with this one, and now we have it cleared. So, yeah, not too bad, really. Not ideal. It took longer than I'd like, but we've dealt with the problem. So yeah, overhype's a pain, but it's certainly dealable. All right, we'll use. I really want to get Bailey, the first time win against the gold, and yeah, this one seems fine. So let's just go for it. We got a lot of health though. A lot of health. Easy peasy, right? And then I don't really have anyone else. But those two, so. So it's then I just pick whichever one I feel like winning, the third one or the fourth one or however many there are, right? So yeah, I think mostly on like a newer, smaller account, you try to control what you can, with Feud, and that's running a very small lineup, with a couple people that can win, right? and that makes your experience a lot better. Ideally, you'd have a feud partner to queue with. And even in this not ideal situation, we end up doing our line in 8 minutes against an overhyped person. Yes, there's only 3, but I don't have speed up and I only have 1 gold on my roster, right? So I did invest my wildcard hype in Becky to take her to 2-star, and she's worth it, in my opinion. But yeah, this lineup actually would have been much easier to go against, right? No hype 3. So yeah, I mean, like, in general, that's kind of, I could fill up my roster more, right? Like, I could put Piper in. Let's go women. Who's very good for me and only bronze. I could put Lyra in. Could put Tiffany in potentially, right? Those are all potentials, but all of a sudden now I have 3 people and I'm at 90k, right? Or 4 people and I'm at 120k, and that not good, right? If I run 120k, 130k, I'll see tons of hype 3s, probably some hype 4s at this point. And I don't want to do that. I still obviously can see hype 3s at this level, but generally they're easier to deal with. But if somebody's just trying to get like their CSS done and they don't want to run big or something, you can run into some pretty rough lineups even running low. But you can see how limited my options are. So I definitely want to keep my talent low, and I'll just stick with 2 really good hitters, right? That's how I will do it. That's the same thing I'll do for the men's when the men's starts, right? I'm going to need 1 zombie, so I'll just run Brett, and I'll probably run Brett and Cena, right? And then fodder. And I do usually like running Boss Man because he's hype 3 for me. So I may run those 3 in a fodder. We'll have to see what the lines are, you know? But the unique wins lets me get more points and things like that. And as far as like, you can see our faction in the faction event is ranked 36, and then some of the ranking is determined on like doing fuses and stuff like that. But you can see I'm ranked 24th in the faction with a really not good roster comparatively. And then when you look at the Flash Feud, let's see what I'm ranked for Feud. Probably not great. I haven't played much, really, so I won't have a ton of points. I'm 30th, right? Just because I played some. So if you're out there wondering, can you make it in a like a top 50 faction? The answer is yeah. You don't need much of a roster, right? I don't have. I have 1, 2. Let's rarity. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golds is all on my entire roster, and I can hang in a top 50 faction, right? So, um, you guys might want to like just consider that, right? Like, the benefits of joining a higher ranked faction and things like that. From Titan to all the events, it just makes your count progression so much easier. If you're not sure how to do it, or if you're scared, like maybe to change or nervous or that kind of thing, it's really not that big a deal or not that difficult. Probably the most important thing to getting into a faction that is gonna like really help you progress and where you can learn a lot is gonna be Discord. I know that's pretty annoying. I really dislike Discord, especially at the start. I resisted getting Discord forever. The first faction I was in used Line, which was really weird. But I didn't like the idea of having to use Discord, right? And it's not great necessarily, but it is super useful for getting in a faction. Um, in particular, the WWE Champion server has spots where you can recruit the official server, right? You can look that up on Discord. There's links everywhere for joining it, right? The official Discord has recruiting spots. Also, if you're more comfortable joining some of the Facebook groups, there's several Facebook groups that have like 5 to 10,000 members in them, right? KC Platinum has one. There's another one. I don't know who the owner is. That's almost as big. And those are really other good avenues. Like WWE Champions Community is the name of one of them on Facebook. It has 7.4K members. And WWE Champions Game Universe is another one, has 11.6 thousand members. So you can join those, and there's all kinds of recruiting in there. I would also recommend looking into like a faction, a family faction, meaning so like Victorious that I'm in has 3 different factions within the family, right? And the top one is Victorious Secrets, which I'm not in, and the middle one is Angels, which I am in. There are lots of ones that have like a group of core like families, and you can progress up the ranks as you do better. Like, so Victorious tracks how you're doing each month, and you can actually look it up in the faction. So like um you can see how you're doing, how you're progressing, and they move people up based on how they're doing on their monthly scores, right? So once you start breaking into the like top 100 scores each month, then they just move you up, right? And people that are not producing to that level, they move to the next faction down. So sometimes you might even bounce like up and down between them, but it's based completely on merit, right? Um, which is pretty cool. And there's many factions like that, right? So yeah, I think I don't know how 5SP has a bunch, Woken has a bunch. Um, the one my main is in 1% doesn't have any feeders. I don't believe TNM does either, right? But there's tons and tons of faction families. I think Team Slam still has a bunch, right, of different factions within. It used to be like Team Slam, Xena, and 1 or 2 others, so I don't know if it's still that way because I don't do a lot of faction stuff. But there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Um, but a faction family is nice if you don't like changing factions a lot, which I don't personally. It allows you to progress and grow within that faction family without having to like look and move other places. But your best resource for that kind of thing is actually Discord. Second best is the Facebook group, right? I get asked often about joining Victorious and how you do that, and that's you contact Smiths or Roman, right? I'm not a recruiter. I don't do recruiting. I don't know what we have room for where. Um, I stay out of that. I just play the game, make content, and Victorious is one of my original factions, right? So I've been in. So I started out in Snow Goons for a while, and then I went to Victorious and started in, I want to say, Angels, or might even been their third one at that time, and I was there for years, and I still consider it like home. I never left the Discord, and from there, I went to Team Slam because I wanted to join a like a top rank faction, see if I could do it, and that sort of thing. So I was there for probably less than a year. That's the shortest I was anywhere. Then I went to TNM for 2 years, probably a year or 2 years, and then I've been in 1% since, which is probably 2 to 3 years, right? So when I made the free to play, I still talk to a bunch of the guys like Roman and Smiths and Fraggle, right? These are guys I never quit talking to. Um, and yeah, I went back home with the free to play. So it's kind of cool to be there in the faction again, right? So I would say too, like if you're not sure about leaving a faction, right? Like the faction really needs to align, I would say, with the player's goals and vice versa, right? So if you don't do your stuff, most factions will move you down, right? That's just the way it is, or out. So a lot of times there's not necessarily like a ton of, I guess loyalty is the right word. Sometimes there's a lot more loyalty in the player than the faction. That's not to say all factions are that way. A lot of factions will give you grace if you're consistently doing well, if you communicate, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm going on vacation this weekend. Like 1% has no issue with that. Victorious has no issue with that. The problem is when people like don't communicate, right? But I think it's very important that you have a realistic idea of what your count is capable of, and then also what you expect in the game or what your goals are in the game. And then you can kind of join a faction based on those things, right? I wanted to give you guys one more brawl, so I'm just kind of filling the time while we're waiting, because I've been asked for this multiple times, for me to record this. Anyway, and the things that kind of probably are most important these days, I would say, like number one, actually, is doing your Titan Takeover daily. Even if you don't think it's fun, even if you don't like it or whatever, you need to be going after this tier 4, at the least, at the very least, and trying to get your damage chest rewards, right? I can't get the platinum most days with 3 energy or at all anymore right now, but I can get 2,000 hype currency here every day. After they killed subs and energy, I can't hit this platinum one on the 4K one at all in the free to play. And then, so I do 2 attacks on here trying to get to the platinum, and then my 3rd attack on the tier 3, because these are the ones that give you the hype currency, right? And if you can do the tier 5, it gives you 5,000 hype currency. So that's probably, in my opinion, at this point in the game, the most important thing to do daily, and probably the single most important thing for your account growth, right? Like, pretty sure factions are going to be recruiting based on what level Titan they can do soon. If I was running a faction, I would actually, that's probably what I would stress the most importance on, is Titan. Because I absolutely think it's really the only way to get a decent amount of hype, period. Right? The they were originally, at some point they will remove the speed tour hype. That will happen. And then it'll be the only place, right? So I think it's kind of a must do. So like that's a goal I would look for. We've had a few people join 1% based on that. They were lifers in other factions and it bothered them to have to leave because their faction just wouldn't commit to Titan, right? So sometimes you do have to make rather tough choices on the right faction for you. But at the same time, you can't really hinder your growth as a player. And Titan is one of those places you can't make up for it. At the very least, you need to be doing 4s, right? 4 and 3 every day. So that's probably the biggest one. Feud, in my estimation at this point, is probably the least important, but it still gets huge emphasis put on it, and people put a lot of emphasis for recruiting. But when you look at the faction rewards for Feud, I mean, maxing is basically any faction that kind of tries maxes, so those aren't hard to get. But if you look at even the rank reward for Feud, oops, let me go right spot. And it's so funny to me, and it's been this way for years. Look at how not good these rewards are. I mean, even if you're first, they're not that great. And, you know, there's only one that's first, so there's only 100 people getting that, right? So, and then after that, they're just kind of terrible, really, right? So, like, it's never made sense to me that factions put so much emphasis on Feud, because it's so meaningless, right? Like, legitimately. Anyway, this is just kind of to fill time and me discussing it. But like, if you love Feud, if you're all in on Feud, then you want to join a faction that feuds hard, right? If that's your thing. There are a lot of factions that will put restrictions on your Feud lineup. I would never join one that restricts me. I want to run the Feud lineup I'm to run, right? You tell me I have to run X big or X small, I'm not going to do it. I'll run every time what I want given the situation that works the best for me, right? I can deal with lane jumping or no lane jumping, right? If the faction rule is no lane jumping, fine. I don't have a problem with that. I understand it because people get so bent about it. Myself personally, jump my lane if I'm slower. I'll jump yours if you're slower. That's just smart. It's faster. It's more efficient. So I think that's the right way to play because it's more efficient. but I can respect that even if I disagree, that really frustrates and makes a lot of people mad. But there's like kind of a machismo that goes along with Feud, and I think that's the reason people get so bent about that and also recruit so hard with it, right? More important stuff is like your kind of like your the midweek one that we just had is how you do in that kind of stuff, right? Because the faction rewards are huge, right? I would put way more weight into contests like that where hitting those extra milestones gave you so many more backpacks, for example, than I ever would into Feud. Those are the events that are important where doing your part, doing extra means even more, right? So you might look into stuff like that. These are all factors when joining a faction. Like, do they align with what you want? And a lot of people will say, I'm not a spender. I can't join a top faction. So Mherex in 1%, we're a top 10 faction, requires zero spending. I've actually never been in a faction that required spending. So when I was in TNM, no spending was required. Team Slam, no spending was required. 1%, no spending is required. Victorious, certainly no spending is required. Right? So a lot of people are afraid to move up because they're like, oh, I can't compete, I don't spend. And that has nothing to do with it. You just have to do your stuff and work, right? So Brawl's over. Let's get in one more really fast now that I've filled out all that time. This video is going to be way longer than I anticipated, but I can't really do much. The speed is what it is. This is what it's fairly common wait times, right? What I do if I'm too slow, I'll just let my teammate finish my line. Like if I can't win, I just suicide myself and then go into the next one, right? I'm not going to wait. I don't ever let the timer run out. These are things that I think are super important when feuding. Being conscientious of your partner's time, right? You don't know where they're at. You don't know what milestones they're chasing, if they still have to get CSS done. That's why I think being fast is important. So if it's early on in the feud, it's not maybe as big a deal, but I try not to do anything that's going to make it take forever. So I'm using fast people and I'm either winning fast or losing fast, right? And I expect actually my teammates to do the same. They don't always, right? But my expectation is that I think that's what being a good feuding teammate is. And you can see like even you know, well, I guess this one we're in 58th for the current feud going on. But you can see like sometimes it just takes time to get queues and stuff, right? There's not always something there. And that's part of it. But if it's the lower in faction rank you go, the longer you have to sit to wait. And these are all things that affect you because like it's weekend flash feud. A lot of times I don't record anything on the weekend because like right now I'm sitting next to Mrs. Mherex, and instead of us talking and hanging out on a Saturday, I'm talking into a microphone, which I don't really generally do very often or like to do. So that's why I don't record these very often on the weekend. Because this is our time, right? So it's time is important for lots of different reasons when you're feuding, and you may not know what the other person has going on, you know? I didn't check anything on this. This could quite backfire. I didn't check. I think we're fine. All right. This is also part of why I don't particularly love Feud. Because once you lock in, you get the annoying CSS done. You're basically just on repeat, right? And what I mean by that is you're going to use the same effective characters over and over. In my case, it's just using Becky and Bailey because that's literally the only way I can get much of anything done. Um, so yeah, that's kind of why I don't like Feud in general, and I really dislike Flash Feud because I have to do this 4 different times. 8 if you count the fact that I'm currently playing 2 accounts. So we'll use Bailey on these two, and we'll use Red, huh? I don't want to deal with Asuka. No one is ready, including me. This one, Asuka scary if the AI plays it right, which I haven't went against one in a while, where they ever get a turn. So I have no idea what she'll do when she gets a turn. If I recall right, she plays it accurate, so I do not want her to get a turn. That would be very bad for us. And it's probably going to take 2 cycles. So yeah, when you're playing free to play, lower talent, like not crazy stuff, you want to kind of plan for the 2 cycle wins or the worst, right? So we're going to reduce her MP regardless, right? On Mherex, I would never bother because I know I'm just going to one-shot her, right? Here, that's not a given. All right? Might as well have been. We one-shotted her. But it's not a given here. So I took the few seconds to throw the MP reduce on. And mine are only -2. They're not nearly what they should be. But I don't have the resources. So hopefully we'll get them to -3 soon. But it's a shard problem, right? All right, now let's use Bailey to have some Bailey on Bailey violence and use Bailey to finish up these 2. And then this video took way too long. I was really hopeful that there wouldn't be so much time in between waiting for the partners to get done. Because really I wasn't able to show you guys that many matches, but hopefully there's some good stuff in the video during the downtime. So I'm definitely curious what you guys are going to think about it in the comments. So, but yeah, the big reason I just don't do these often is because simply it's on the weekend and I prioritize other stuff. Obviously not today. I made the choice to not, but I don't do that very often. So yeah. So one more and then we'll call that a video. And you know, hopefully you guys find this helpful, right? Like maybe there's some tips you can take into it. So this one, I didn't look. I should have put some MP down because her sub's going to be ready for sure. And we're probably not going to zero her. So this is a mistake on my part, right? I should have put black MP down on. 100% should have. And if I lose this one, it's completely my fault. The damage looks pretty decent, so we might not. But we very well could, and it would be my own fault. Let's find out. Looks like we're good. So that worked out. So that's what I got for you guys in the Feud videos on the free-to-play. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and remember to like, subscribe, and share because that really helps me out. And that, guys, thanks for watching, and good luck out there. Yeah, I don't like Flash Feud Weekend. And glad we're halfway done.